Welcome back. In our last episode, we learned about control flow, how to make decisions with if statements, and repeat tasks with loops. Today, we're taking a huge step by introducing functions, one of the most powerful tools in programming. A function is a reusable block of code that performs a specific task. Let's jump right into it and see how to create and use functions in Typescript. So, in programming, a function is like a recipe. You define the instructions once, then you can follow them anytime you want to perform that specific task. Functions help keep our code organized and avoid repetition. So let's start by creating a basic function in TypeScript. We define a function by the function keyword, which is this, followed by the function's name, which we have called greet, and then the parentheses. We keep them empty for this first function. The curly braces, or mustaches as I like to call them, for the code blocks inside. And that gives us this very simple function which executes console.log hello welcome to TypeScript. So what this actually does, and let me just really quickly compile this. So let's go to CD and then change the directory to functions and then node index.js. See, it just prints welcome to TypeScript. Now, how does it do this? By calling it here. This is how we call a function. We define it here, we take the signature and we call it here. Every time we call greet, it runs the code inside the function printing our message. So it's actually pretty simple to create a function, right? So let's make it a bit more flexible by adding parameters. So in this second example, like in version 2 of the same function, I just named it different because you can't have two functions with the same name. I think overloading is allowed. No, it's not. Okay, you can't have two functions with the same name, even though the signature is different. It can be done in Java. So let's keep it like this and then keep this one commented. So what we have done now, we've added a name parameter to the greetUser function. Now, when we call greetUser, we can pass in a name to customize the message. So let's try calling it with different names and let's see how that works. So we're going to save it again, compile it again, and then run it again. See, and now it says hello, welcome to TypeScript, which is the first one. And then it says hello, Alice, welcome to TypeScript. And then it says hello, Bob, welcome to TypeScript. So that's how it executes. We have added like the arguments to the function. So the parameters defined here, put an argument in there, or however you want to call it. In this case, Bob, and in that case, Alice, and then it prints two different things because it uses that as a variable in this string. Let's talk about return values here. So return values are a function can actually return a value back to the place it was called. So this is very useful when we want the function to calculate or provide a result that we can use later on stored into a variable. Let's see how we do it here. Like we have an add function, right? And we want to add two numbers together. In this case, 5 and 3. We pass them in and it returns and it stores it in this variable. So it returns a plus b, in this case 5 plus 3, and then it stores it into this variable and then we print the result. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. We compile it again and then we run it again, and then it says result is 8 because what it did, as I explained before, we have defined here that it always returns a number. We can't return, like if we would do this, like we could do this and then to string. No, this will not fly because it says you can't return a string, right? You have to return a number. So we have defined there that we always return a number and that the arguments that the function accepts are two numbers. In this case, 5 and 3, which will return into this variable the number 8 because of these, and then it stores it into this variable and we can use it later on in our code. Let's go and look at an error example. So let's see here. I have to do this. See how our types actually help us here. Type annotations are like really helpful in functions. They let us define what types we expect for each parameter and the return value. If we try to pass the wrong type here or return the wrong type, TypeScript will warn us. So as I showed you before, like you can't return a string if it says number here because this defines that we always return a number. So you can't pass in any strings because we have defined it here as numbers, and it always should return a number. Now that you know enough about functions, the basics of them, let's try and do some exercises. So I have 3 exercises like usual. Pause the video, check them, and then we'll go over the answers. So for the first one, it says create a function called calculateArea that takes a rectangle's width and height as parameters and returns the area. So what we've done here is it says width and height as a number, or both as numbers, and it returns a number. And then we just calculate the area. Width times height equals the area. So for the second one, write a function named greetWithTime that takes a name and a time of day, like morning or evening, and prints a greeting message, like good morning, Alice. Well, we've done it here. Here we have 2 strings that we pass in. One is a name and the other is time of day, both strings. We put them into this console log and we store them and use them, or we don't store them. We put them into the string that we're console logging, and that's how that works. And this is how you call the function. And then number 3, create a function named isEven that takes a number and returns true if it's even and false if it's odd. All right, so number 3 is even. We take a number and we return a boolean. The number, this is called a modulo operator. So it's number modulo 2 equals 0, then it's even. So that is how that works, and that is actually the basics of functions. So today we learned how to create them, how to use parameters, and how to use return values in TypeScript. And functions are an actual big part and core of programming, and mastering them will open up many new possibilities. In our next episode, we'll talk about arrays, a way to store and work with lists of data. Don't miss it, and see you next time.